On a summer afternoon in July 2025, a single notification lit up financial newsrooms around the globe. The Bloomberg Billionaires Index had just been updated. The rankings had shifted, and for the first time in his extraordinary life, Larry Ellison, co-founder of Oracle, was now the second richest man on Earth, ahead of Mark Zuckerberg, second only to Elon Musk. To casual observers, it was just another story in the billionaires' league table. But behind that shift was a chain of events decades in the making, and a man whose entire career had been defined by risk, rebellion, and a relentless hunger to win. For years, Ellison had been comfortably in the billionaire elite, but never this close to the very top. At $251 billion in net worth, his fortune had surged by over $100 billion in less than 3 years. Oracle stock had nearly tripled since 2022. In the last quarter alone, it had climbed more than 90%. And it all came down to one thing: the AI gold rush. Larry Ellison's story didn't begin in boardrooms or luxury yachts. It began in the working-class neighborhoods of Chicago, where a young, restless Larry grew up the adopted son of a modest family. His adoptive father, a government employee, believed in job security and steady paychecks. Larry, he wanted none of it. At 22 years old, he dropped out of college. Twice, he bounced between odd jobs, from working at Wells Fargo to dabbling in tech startups, until a small software contract for CIA, codenamed Project Oracle, changed everything. Decades later, Oracle wasn't just a database company anymore. It was morphing into a cloud powerhouse, building data centers the size of football fields, powering AI models for some of the most ambitious players in tech. In 2025, that gamble paid off, when Oracle struck a multi-billion-dollar AI infrastructure deal, partnering with OpenAI, SoftBank, and government agencies. Investors took notice. The market went wild. In just one day, Oracle stock jumped 5.7% after the U.S. eased semiconductor export restrictions to China. The AI story was unstoppable. Bloomberg newsroom anchor recently announced, Larry Ellison has just overtaken Mark Zuckerberg to become the world's second richest person. His net worth now stands at $251.20 billion. But behind the headlines was a man who had spent his entire career preparing for this kind of moment. Ellison had made his fortune by seeing the future before others did, and betting everything on it. In the late 1970s, while most companies were still wrestling with mainframes, Ellison believed in a radical idea, that databases, the heart of computing, would dominate business. And he was right. In the 2000s, he saw the internet wave coming, pivoted Oracle's products, and swallowed up competitors in billion-dollar acquisitions. In the 2020s, he saw that artificial intelligence would need not just algorithms, but vast, lightning-fast data infrastructure, and he positioned Oracle to provide it. And yet, this victory wasn't just about money. It was about status. For years, Mark Zuckerberg had been hailed as the face of modern tech entrepreneurship, the young disruptor. Ellison, nearly 80 years old, had been dismissed by some as a legacy billionaire, a titan from a previous era. But on this day, the market proved otherwise. Ellison wasn't just keeping up. He was beating the next generation. Of course, Larry Ellison's life had always been larger than life. He raced yachts in the America's Cup. He bought an entire Hawaiian island, Lanai, for $300 million. He built mansions with private lakes, collected fighter jets, and even appeared in Marvel movies. But his fortune wasn't built on extravagance. It was built on relentless competitiveness, the same drive that once made him tell his executives, "It's not enough to win, others must lose." In July 2025, that competitive spirit had pushed him into a new league. At number 2, Ellison was now looking up at just one man, Elon Musk, worth an estimated $358 billion. But for Ellison, the gap wasn't just in dollars. Musk had become a symbol of the future: Mars rockets, electric cars, brain implants. Ellison now had to prove that his empire, rooted in enterprise software, could be just as revolutionary in the AI age. The world saw the rankings. The markets saw the stock price. But the real story was just beginning, because behind closed doors, Larry Ellison was already thinking about his next move, one that could determine whether he would stay in second place, climb to first, or watch it all come crashing down. In Silicon Valley, fortunes rise and fall overnight. And Larry Ellison knows the higher you climb, the steeper the drop. Next, the gamble that made $100 billion in 3 years. Every fortune has its turning point, a moment where one decision rewrites the future. For Larry Ellison, that moment came when he decided to bet Oracle's future and his own fortune on the most expensive gamble in the company's history. In the early 2020s, the tech industry was in the grip of AI fever. Startups were being valued in the billions overnight. Big tech companies were racing to secure the chips, data centers, and infrastructure needed to power the next wave of artificial intelligence. But Oracle was not the first name most people thought of when they heard AI. It was known for databases, not breakthroughs, for corporate software, not consumer magic. Ellison saw that as an advantage. The cloud market's crowded. AI is crowded. But the infrastructure that supports AI, that's where the real bottleneck is. And that's where Oracle will win. In late 2022, Ellison ordered an unprecedented expansion of Oracle's cloud capacity. Billions of dollars were poured into building megascale data centers capable of handling the most demanding AI workloads. The risk was staggering. Cloud services were expensive to scale, and competition from Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud was intense. Inside Oracle, some executives feared the company would bleed cash before the investment paid off. But Ellison wasn't looking at the next quarter's earnings. He was looking at the next decade. Then came a secretive meeting. In early 2023, representatives from SoftBank and OpenAI sat down with Ellison to discuss an ambitious plan, codenamed Stargate. The goal? To create the world's largest AI training hub, with computing capacity beyond anything currently available. Oracle will provide the backbone infrastructure, vast arrays of servers, lightning-fast networking, and optimized storage to feed AI models with trillions of data points. The deal would be worth billions, but the prestige? Priceless. Newspapers soon headlined, Oracle strikes multi-billion AI deal. When the news broke months later, investors reacted instantly. Oracle's stock surged. Analysts who once called the company old tech now described it as critical AI infrastructure. Over the next 18 months, as AI adoption exploded, Oracle's cloud revenue grew 14% year over year, and the company posted an 11% jump in total revenue, numbers that ignited Wall Street optimism. But the real spike came in mid-2025, when the U.S. government eased export restrictions on advanced semiconductors to China. For Oracle, this was an indirect windfall. More chip supply meant faster deployment of AI systems, more cloud demand, and a fresh wave of contracts. On July 15, 2025, Oracle shares jumped 5.7% in a single day. Larry Ellison's personal wealth leapt by billions in hours. Analysts and tech journalists exclaimed, "Analyst won." Ellison didn't just ride the AI wave. He positioned Oracle to be the wave. Analyst 2. The genius wasn't building AI. He was building what AI needs to survive. This wasn't the first time Ellison had bet the company on an unproven idea. In the late 90s, he committed Oracle to internet-based applications long before the cloud existed. In 2004, he began a string of aggressive acquisitions, buying PeopleSoft, Siebel, and Sun Microsystems, that reshaped Oracle's portfolio. Each move was criticized at the time, and each one paid off. By the summer of 2025, Ellison's boldness had paid off yet again. From late 2022 to mid-2025, Oracle's market cap had swelled by over $300 billion. Ellison's stake, roughly 40% of the company, meant that his personal fortune had soared by more than $100 billion in under 3 years. This was the engine behind his leap to number 2 in the world's richest rankings, pushing Mark Zuckerberg down to 3rd. For years, Zuckerberg had been the symbol of relentless upward momentum. Meta had conquered social media, dominated VR, and poured billions into AI. But in July 2025, it wasn't enough. Oracle's meteoric rise had eclipsed even Meta's gains. Only Elon Musk remained ahead, his $358 billion fortune fueled by Tesla's dominance, SpaceX's valuation, and a portfolio of futuristic ventures. The gap between Musk and Ellison was still wide. But for the first time, Musk had a challenger who wasn't decades younger. Ellison, as always, was playing the long game. From his private island of Lanai, which he had transformed into a sustainable tech paradise, he monitored Oracle's AI projects, pushed for faster expansion, and sketched out his next steps. He wasn't satisfied with second place. Larry Ellison, recent investor call. The race for AI dominance has just begun. And Oracle isn't here to participate. We're here to lead. But the higher the stakes, the greater the danger. Oracle's rapid rise had also drawn fierce competition. Amazon, Microsoft, and Google were now targeting the same AI infrastructure market. And they had deeper pockets. Analysts warned that AI demand could cool or regulations could tighten, derailing Oracle's momentum. For Ellison, this wasn't hypothetical. He'd been at the top before and seen how quickly fortunes can reverse. Narrator: in 3 years, Larry Ellison had turned a $100 billion gamble into the defining win of his career. But in the world of technology, empires can rise and fall in the blink of an eye. And behind closed doors, Ellison's rivals were already plotting their countermove. Next, the war for the AI future. Stay tuned as we cover the intensifying battle with rivals, internal challenges at Oracle, and the personal side of Ellison's quest to overtake Musk. In the summer of 2025, Larry Ellison stood on the highest rung he'd ever reached, second richest man in the world. But Silicon Valley is not a place that celebrates stability. It's a battlefield. And the moment you claim the high ground, someone else is already climbing to take it from you. Oracle's sudden rise in the AI infrastructure market had rattled the titans of tech. Amazon AWS, still the largest cloud provider, began aggressively courting AI startups with deep discounts and exclusive chip access. Microsoft Azure, fortified by its close partnership with OpenAI, expanded its own data center footprint. Google Cloud, leveraging its AI research powerhouse DeepMind, promised breakthroughs that could leapfrog existing infrastructure. The war for AI dominance was officially on. Inside Oracle's Redwood Shores headquarters, the atmosphere was part victory lap, part war room. Ellison had always thrived in competition, but now the stakes were higher than ever. Billions in AI contracts were on the line. One misstep could send Oracle's stock and Ellison's ranking into freefall. Larry Ellison, internal address, leaked clip: we're not here to be second in cloud or in AI infrastructure. We've got one target. And it's not Amazon. It's not Microsoft. It's Elon. Beating Musk was more than a financial goal. Musk had become the face of daring innovation. Rockets, EVs, neural tech. Ellison wanted to prove that his brand of enterprise-scale AI infrastructure could be just as revolutionary and far more profitable. In sailing, Ellison had learned that victory often came down to milliseconds, the tiny adjustments no one else noticed until it was too late. He brought that same precision to business. Oracle began securing exclusive, long-term contracts with governments and megacorporations, locking in billions in recurring revenue before rivals could react. The expansion was staggering. Oracle's new facilities weren't just data centers. They were AI fortresses. Built to handle petabytes of training data and optimized for most advanced chips, they promised not just speed, but security, a key selling point for governments wary of cyber espionage. Media interviews with cybersecurity experts followed. Expert 1. Ellison positioned Oracle as a safe, sovereign AI cloud. That's a huge differentiator in the geopolitical AI race. Expert 2. When national security is involved, you don't want your AI running on just anyone's servers. That's where Oracle cleaned up. But while the headlines focus on billions in data centers, there was another side to Ellison's climb, one that was personal. At nearly 80 years old, he was defying a narrative that tech was a young man's game. Critics had long suggested that Oracle was a relic of the past, that Ellison was living in the shadow of younger billionaires. Now, every stock surge was a rebuke to those who had counted him out. Mark Zuckerberg, still reeling from being overtaken, made subtle digs and interviews about legacy companies trying to reinvent themselves. Ellison, characteristically, ignored the noise. His focus remained on the bigger picture and the one man still ahead of him. Bloomberg Billionaire's index chart animation read. The numbers told the story. Musk, $358 billion. Ellison, $251 billion. Zuckerberg, just below Ellison. The gap to first place was enormous, over $100 billion. But Ellison had closed bigger gaps before. In the late 1990s, Ellison had faced and beaten corporate giants with far more resources. His method was always the same. Identify the weakness, move faster, and never give your rival time to regroup. Yet there were storm clouds on the horizon. Lawmakers in the U.S. and Europe were beginning to discuss AI regulation, rules that could slow deployment, limit exports, or impose costly compliance measures. If those hit AI infrastructure providers hard, Oracle's momentum could stall. And there was the market itself. AI stocks have been on a tear for 2 years. Some analysts whisper the word, bubble. If investor enthusiasm cooled, Ellison's paper fortune could shrink. Fast. Interview with veteran Wall Street trader Reed. Trader, Ellison's playing a perfect game right now. But the higher you climb in tech valuations, the thinner the air gets. One bad quarter and billions can vanish. Ellison understood the risks. But he also understood something else. The AI revolution wasn't just hype. It was infrastructure dependent. Without servers, without storage, without the backbone that Oracle specialized in, the future everyone imagined simply couldn't happen. For Ellison, that meant one thing: keep building. Faster, bigger, smarter. Because in the war for the AI future, speed wasn't just an advantage, it was survival. Larry Ellison had fought his way past Zuckerberg and into history. But as the battle lines hardened, he knew winning this war would take more than ambition. It would take the boldest move of his career, a move that could make him the richest man alive or erase everything he built. August 2025, Larry Ellison had reached the summit of his career, but not the summit of the world's wealth rankings. Second place was history-making, but for Ellison, there was only one position worth holding. Above him stood Elon Musk at $358 billion, a figure Ellison could see but not yet touch. Closing that gap would take a move so bold, so sweeping, that it could rewrite both men's legacies. Behind closed doors, Ellison outlined his vision: an AI infrastructure network so vast and integrated that it would become the default backbone for global artificial intelligence, from defense systems to financial trading to autonomous transportation. He called it simply the grid. The grid would link Oracle's data centers into a seamless web, capable of routing AI workloads anywhere in the world in milliseconds. It would be faster than any current cloud provider, with encryption so advanced it could withstand even quantum computing attacks. For governments, it meant security. For corporations, it meant speed. For Oracle, it meant dominance. When Ellison unveiled the plan at Oracle Cloud World, the reaction was electric. Stock analysts called it the boldest AI infrastructure project ever attempted. Shares surged another 7% in a single week. But building the grid would require tens of billions in investment and partnerships with companies that, until recently, had been Oracle's rivals. Ellison began cutting deals. NVIDIA would supply next-generation AI chips optimized for Oracle's network. Intel would provide custom processors for secure workloads. Governments in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East expressed interest in hosting segments of the grid on their soil. But the announcement also triggered a wave of counterattacks. Amazon announced a rival system, Aurora, promising similar speed but backed by AWS sheer scale. Microsoft launched a push to bundle Azure's AI infrastructure directly into enterprise software suites, locking in clients before Oracle could reach them. The race had turned into a sprint, one that could bankrupt even the biggest players if they miscalculated. Interview with a financial analyst. Ellison's playing at a level where the risk is existential. If the grid fails, Oracle's AI ambitions collapse. And his personal fortune? It could drop by $50 billion overnight. Inside Oracle, the pressure was relentless. Deadlines were tight. Every day lost was a day Musk and his allies could strengthen their lead. Ellison visited the labs often, not as a ceremonial figurehead, but as a strategist, questioning designs, pushing teams, reminding them of the stakes. Larry Ellison advice to engineers: if we win this, we don't just change Oracle, we change how the world runs AI. By late 2025, Oracle's stock was flirting with all-time highs. Ellison's net worth edged past $270 billion. The gap to Musk was still vast, but shrinking. On Lanai, Ellison took rare moments to reflect. Nearly 80 years old, he had outlasted most of his rivals from the early Silicon Valley days. He had built one of the most enduring empires in tech. But his competitiveness had never faded. Not with age, not with wealth. He knew the public saw this as a race of billionaires. For him, it was something deeper. It was proof that vision, strategy, and the refusal to quit could still beat youth and hype. Elon Musk interview. Musk smiling. Larry is a smart guy, but this isn't about who's richest. It's about who builds a future. Ellison watched that clip more than once, and each time it only sharpened his resolve. As the first phase of the grid came online, early results were staggering. AI model training that once took weeks could now be completed in days. Cybersecurity tests showed near impenetrable defenses. Government signed multi-year contracts worth billions. Breaking news headline: Oracle secures historic $40 billion AI defense contract. The news sent shockwaves through the market. Oracle shares spiked again. Ellison's net worth crossed $280 billion. He was still second, but Musk was no longer untouchable. The world now watched the unfolding duel. Musk, the Mars-bound visionary, pushing humanity toward space. Ellison, the AI architect, building the infrastructure of Earth's digital future. In the story of Larry Ellison, the numbers tell one tale. The man tells another. From a college dropout in Chicago to the architect of the world's AI backbone, Ellison has spent his life betting on what others couldn't see. And in 2025, that bet made him the second richest man alive. Whether he will claim the top spot remains unwritten. This is not the end of the race. It's only the next lap.